Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Celtic World Tactical Review. My name is Anthony McGuire. As always, I'm joined by Paul Massey as we look at Dundee 2, Celtic 0. Not exactly the greatest weekend of Celtic action to get us back into it after the international break, and with a top of the table clash with Hearts at Tynecastle in a week's time. Brendanrodgers and his men, a lot of soul searching to do between now and then. Shawnee boys in the comments, hail boys, hail to you, sir. Get amongst in the comments. I'm sure plenty of people will have opinions on yesterday's performance. Paul and I certainly have a few. So think of it as a little bit of a therapy session that we will get through over the next 60 minutes. I can't see this one dragging on. Paul, how was your weekend? Obviously, 7 o'clock kickoff. We're thinking, yep, that's great. 7 o'clock kickoff on a Sunday night. You dancer. None of these 11 o'clock fixtures in Perth, WA time. But obviously not to be. But before that, there was a weekend. The weather was a bit patchy again in Perth. It's absolutely been pouring with rain all day today. Hence, I'm in the jumper. But how was your weekend, mate?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, tracky's back on. It was been bloody freezing today. Cold and rain, not really what you expect well into spring in the sunniest city in Australia. But there you go. That's where we're at the moment. Pretty much the weather summed up my my demeanour and mood today. Having a Monday in the office coupled with a pretty terrible performance and a crap result. It's not really the way to get you springing into the week. But the weekend was pretty good prior to that. Pretty chilled, which I enjoy after a busy and stressful week at work. So yeah, of an age now where it's quite happy just to hang with my wife and dogs and not do too much. So yeah, I had a couple of beers after work on Friday, takeaway pizza, and then Saturday, our local brewery had a little bit of an Oktoberfest theme going on. Some various guest German beers on from Germany. Some really good stuff on tap. So yeah, went down for a couple of hours and a bit of a snack, and probably pushing 4 hours before I finally toddled my way back up the road. But it was wife sanctioned. Dogs were with us, so kind of 2 or 3 birds with one stone. Bit of a early dinner, dog walk, couple of beers, catch up with some mates, all good. So yeah, Saturday was good fun. Early night, and then yes, Sunday the weather was atrocious on Sunday, so kept it quiet. Managed to get out of doing the mowing the lawns. I put that off on Saturday and said I'll do that on Sunday, and then it was too wet to do that. So,
well played.
To be fair, I'm full disclosure. The forecast said it was going to be okay until 3 p.m. So I was like, it's time in the morning, and then the forecast was a nonsense, and it was pissing it down about 9:30, 10 o'clock. So I was like, right, I've managed to get out of that one. So a decent weekend until the football came on. Yeah, as you said, perfect time for us in Perth, 7 p.m. But unfortunately, I would say that the only positive to come from that game is it was done by 9 p.m. and I could go to bed instead of it being midnight or 1 or our poor friends and colleagues on the East Coast didn't kick off till 10 o'clock. Time for them to get to bed, not ideal. So, yeah, pretty terrible performance, which we'll get into. But to give you a nice little prompt in, an uninspiring lineup, which led to an uninspiring performance.
Well, we've got a bit of an early chirp here from Hearts fan. Good one, mate. We'll keep it clean in the chat. I did some gardening on Friday before the weather turned to absolute crap, so I got a little bit done. And then Saturday, our horse was running in the King Charles Stakes. Didn't expect it to win, and it did. So it was off to the pub for beers, and that escalated very, very quickly. So so Saturday went from being a very quiet one to being a very big one. So we're at the pub and ended up having dinner and 10 couple bottles of wine and celebrating. So that was great. So that was totally unexpected. had a pretty torrid 12 months. It won that same race last year, and then it went back to back, but it had showed no form up until that point. So very unexpected, but very, very happy. And the owners got a letter from the King last year, so I don't know if we'll get one. Oh, jeez, I just don't know. Block him. So did that. And then Sunday, the weather was crap and I had a hangover, so I didn't really do much. Had a nice lamb roast down at the Old Faithful. So down, Old Laundry. I keep saying Old Faithful, Old Laundry, down close to where I live. It was all looking good. It was like, got home 4 or 5 o'clock. I had a couple of wines. I was feeling, football on, so it'll be nice. And then it kind of like deflated my whole weekend after that, because that was like, the turgid performance. And let's get into it, but I'll bring in some comments in and then we'll get touring, because I think most people we're up to 23, so we're sort of got our usual crew on board. So new one here, 66Kev1. Hail guys, hail to you, sir. Strange Love the Doctor, hail to you. Crap weather here also. I don't know where you are, Henrik Melarson, but it's not exactly spring weather here, that's for sure. Ish, can we get the horse to play on Celtic's right wing? Well, I tell you what, couldn't do any worse. Sure. Crying out for a right winger, crying out for a few players in our team at the moment, I think. But I've got all the boys saying hail. So, all right, Paul, let's crack on, because we said we're committed ourselves to get this done within an hour. So we better, we're 7 minutes in already. So let's get on with it. Team lineup. 3 changes from the last time Celtic played Motherwell. Last minute gasp win there, papering over the cracks as it appeared to be at the time, and that's how it's played out. But Nygren, Yang, and Kieran Tierney into the side in places of Maeda, who had a hamstring injury, which passed me by, but he obviously did. Sarachi, who was on the bench, and Luke McCowan, who also dropped to the bench. Probably the biggest head scratcher for me is Donovan being on the bench, because that right-hand side looked weak on paper to me, and unfortunately that is kind of how that played out in real life. I mean, probably fairly average on both flanks, to be honest, but definitely on the right-hand side that needed changes at half-time. Paul, what were your thoughts? Because obviously we had maybe say half the squad away on international duty, whereas Dundee obviously had 2 weeks to prepare. They come off a 4-0 studding from Aberdeen. I mean, let's face it, Aberdeen are hardly travelling well. Let me know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, well, it's a good pickup on Donovan. I was really surprised to see him left out. I know he was with the 21s, and I think he played centre back in that game, actually. But you'd have thought, unless he was not completely 100%, then he would be starting. It's odd to have reverted back to Ralston. So that was a strange one. Frustrating to see the same midfield 3 that has barely functioned all year back in again. You're really looking for something a bit different. And then obviously Maeda apparently had a little hamstring pull before the international break in our last match, and the Japanese manager still brings him all the way halfway around the world, doesn't play him, sends him back. It's hardly going to be great, is it? So so that was the last thing we needed as well, which left us sort of really kind of stretched. Even accounting for that, you probably wouldn't go with You wouldn't go with Yang. I think I was in our group chat beforehand saying Tenekti played for Tunisia on the right wing during the international break. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you give him a crack on the right and sort of start Balak-Wisha, giving him opportunity? We're stretched, or even if you don't want to go there, then get into. Give Forrest a crack and get him going. I just think Yang's shown very little. So it was far from sort of positive when the team lines came out. Yeah, just a bit, just frustrating. We talked about this a lot, where we don't seem to have any kind of freshness to the team. There's players in there, and we can get to this in a bit, or we can do it. Maybe we do it later. Maybe we do it now. There's players in there that I really got no idea how they've still got a jersey, and some of them really not performing. Negrin still flatters to deceive. I think in the 10-minute cameo Engels came on, he showed more energy, more athleticism, and more intent than Negrin did in the whole match up until he went off. And I'm a self-confessed Engels fan, but I really struggle to work out what he's done that's so desperately wrong, and how he can continue to be marginalised when he's clearly a better player all around. We need to speak about Kieran Tierney again, whether that's now or later. He's pulling £2.6 million a year in salary, 50 grand a week, by far the club's.
Is that what it works out to be, 50 grand a week?
Yeah.
Is that
highest paid player? Is that, it's before bonuses, before anything else. And I'd be playing Sriracha ahead of him at the minute. That's how that's how disappointing he's been.
Well, I've seen a lot of comments online saying that they would take Greg Taylor back in a heartbeat. He was one that always divided opinion, and that's probably the indictment, isn't it? Like right there.
And he left because he wanted 20 grand a week, right? He was on 15 and he wanted 20, and we're like, well, no. So I'm not saying Greg Taylor is the answer by any stretch of the imagination, but Kieran Tierney's not giving us 50 grand a week of contribution. Far from it. I want him to be leading. I want him to be bombing down the wing. He whipped in a brilliant cross right at the death, and he actually was really close to tucking it away. Not that it would have been any more than a consolation, but I just wonder why that's not. He's not doing that again and again. Like his delivery was good very early on, and it sort of disappeared. Engine hasn't really been showing. And then even somebody like, Schmeichel, like I'm just not overly impressed with what he's contributed. Yesterday, the centre-back pairing had an absolute shocker. We've talked about Ralston briefly already. McGregor had a poor game again. Barely anyone gets pass marks, and the ones that do mostly came off the bench, to be honest. So yeah, we can get into nuts and bolts of all of this or any of this, but we were so bad first half that he makes 2 subs at halftime. Now I was calling for 3 at least, and at least he changes the formation. But I don't really understand the point in changing the formation if you can continue to play at a slow, methodic, one-paced horseshoe of death performance. Like, there's no point changing the shape if you're not going to change the intensity or how you get at the opposition. And they set up to hold out a 2-goal lead, and really, they were good value for it. Really good value for it. Do you know what I mean? Amongst all and it won't be much. Amongst all the kind of negativity about how bad we were, you got to take your hat off to Stephen Presley and Dundee. They got their tactics absolutely spot on. And they were by far the more dangerous side in the first half. Like, every time they broke with intent. The set pieces were better, well organised, dangerous. Everything we weren't. We don't break with pace. We don't look threatening. We don't turn defence and attack with any kind of sort of gusto. And our set pieces are an absolute farce, both defending them and attacking them. I can't believe how badly and how far we've regressed since Munich. It's incredible.
I need to apologise to Davy Boy. I've accidentally banned him from the comments section. Apologies, Davy Boy. I hope you're still listening. Apologies. I just unfortunately the comments scroll as I'm trying to block a couple of Hearts fans who are getting a bit chirpy in the comment section. I think I've got rid of most of them or all of them, but feel free to sing out if there's another one lurking in there. But yeah, apologies to Gabby Boy there. That was a mistake on my partner. Unfortunately, I can't undo it apparently. So sorry about that. But yeah, Paul, just pick up on your point. Yeah, I mean, take your pick. I mean, you've got seasoned pros who are playing well below their best. Schmeichel, Calmac, Kieran Tierney. And then you've got new players coming at the team, Tanecki, Barakwisha off the bench. They're just not getting, they're having to come in a very difficult time. Iheanacho, again, played the whole game, huffed and puffed. Kenny, second half, I mean, it's just, like as you say, you play with two up front, didn't really like we're playing with two up front, and Iheanacho was just dropping deeper and wider and not really playing as a forward too. But when the ball's getting played at such a slow pace, you're not going to break down two banks of 4 or 5. Like you just basically playing the ball side to side. It's like waves crashing on the beach, just backwards and forwards, and that's what it felt like. And probably the most painful thing of our current predicament is that Liam Scales and Cameron Carter-Vickers are almost the dictators of the pace of our play, because we're all that pushed that far up that they're the ones that are then controlling the tempo, and they're probably the last two who should be in that situation. And then you're sort of saying, well, Cal Max, like basically just taking the ball off them and then passing the ball straight back to them. He's just doing that for like being a like in five-a-side football when you play the ball off the wall and you do like 1-2s. That's basically all he did for like 90 minutes. And and then you're like, okay, great, right. That's your structure, fine, not working, okay. But the thing that gets me is that against Hibs 3 or 4 weeks ago, when they got us a 0-0 draw at Parkhead, they basically did the same thing that Dundee did to us yesterday. But the difference was Dundee had threat going up the park and they broke with intent. And that Colgreve, that lad that they've signed from Swansea on loan, that right winger, he gave them an outlet every time. He skipped past Kieran Tierney, he skipped past Liam Scales for the second goal. And he just provided threat. Simon Murray's just going to run around all day and just be an absolute nuisance. So they've gone from a team that just is a nuisance factor to actually a team that's got a little bit of threat, and that's the blueprint that teams will employ against us in Scotland, and I dare say probably in Europe as well, because we just do not have the pace or the tempo at the moment to break down dogged defense. Like there was glimpses of when we did it, and we may as well get into some of these images that I've loaded up, because otherwise they're just going to go to waste. And I spent 10-15 minutes doing this before I came online. So this was an early shot from Iheanacho. It glances the outside of the post and it catches the keeper unawares. And it's speculative. And from about 25 yards out, it's a half chance at best. But he does catch the keeper napping, and it's unfortunate. I mean, another day maybe it goes in, but you wouldn't put it down as an absolute stonewall chance, but it's something from nothing. But this is their first goal. And this is from the corner kick. And, we may as well get into the defending here, Paul, because Carter-Vickers is obviously the defender behind Carter-Vickers in this image is obviously got in front of him and checked him and stopped him from running with the Dundee number 3, and he's had basically a free header. And I tell you what, he sticks it away. I mean, it's a good ball in from Colgreve, your man from Swansea, but it's this sort of thing. I mean, how are we in a situation? And I can't bring the pointer up here, but basically, if you can imagine a 5-yard radius around this laddie, it's about head of the ball in the back of the net. Where are we? Like, why are we not in a zonal situation where Scales or somebody else should be occupying that front post spot? He's basically got all the acres of space to run into. It's a dream chance, and this boy has scored goals for Dundee this year from set pieces. So you would know going into the game that he is some sort of a threat, and he's had a free run at it. And it's just, this was on the back of a couple of plays that Dundee had as well. They had the one before the ball was lumped up long, and the Samuel's out on the left-hand side. He pulls it down. Great first touch. Pulls it down. He whips the ball across. That was a little warning sign there. Ralston caught sleeping there. Nacho's had the shot that stemmed the post. Colgrave then, so I guess he's crossing against KT. No takers there. So there's two chances, half chances that Dundee have had. A little bit of a warning sign that on the break, they look dangerous. They get a corner kick, and then this is the resulting goal from that. So that sort of brings us up to speed. We're up to the 17th minute mark from here, Paul. But talk through this goal because, you said the two centre halves had a poor game. And, from all accounts here, Carter Vickers has been caught badly. And, getting a free header list is criminal, is it not?
Yeah. So, as your old man points out, we've got 10 Celtic players in the box. And there's still a bloke stood a couple of yards off the penalty spot, as you say, with 3 or 4 yards space to have a free header and pick his spot. And then glance it in the far corner where there's 3 players right in the middle of the goal, including a keeper and a defender of ours and their striker. Okay, let's look at the positives if you're Dundee, right? And if you're most teams in the Premier League, set pieces are the way you're going to beat Celtic more often than not. It's certainly one of the key things that you're going to try and work on and win on. Long throws, free kicks, corners. And teams will spend hours a week on the training ground to achieve these kind of things. We're watching Arsenal rewrite the set piece book in the Premier League for the last more than a season. They were good last year, they're even better this year. So the fact that, it's not just like teams that want to lump it up or, only play for set pieces. You've got a team like Arsenal who plays the ball on the deck and plays football the right way, but they are abundantly aware of how important set pieces are if you get them right at both ends of the ground. I've said for a long time, we've talked about this ad nauseum on this show and other versions. We are rubbish at set pieces in both boxes. Let's start with the front post here. You've got 3 midfielders, 2 midfielders and the centre forward marking each other. There's not a Dundee player in sight. What are they doing? That's a complete waste of time and space. You've got, both centre backs are at fault here. CCV is going to rightly take the majority of it. But everybody knows if Liam Scales doesn't get his head on it, on a set piece delivery in our box, or even a from normal play across in the box, if Liam Scales doesn't defend it with his head, we're in real trouble. Like there's no guarantee anyone else is getting it. CCV's your next best shout, but even he's 6'1", right? He's not exactly a man mountain for attacking defensive headers. So 2 things here. CCV is, he does get blocked off on his run, but he's also sleeping, right? His marker is often running and he's ball watching. He gets blocked as well. So between the 2 things, by the time he realizes what's happened, your man's got a 3, 4, 5 yard head start, and then he's got a free header and he's got the jump on him. He did get blocked off, but you're quite entitled to do that. But he also was caught on his heels, and he was one of a few players across the game that were caught on their heels. Some at set pieces, some in open play. He was caught on his heels in open play more than once. Callum McGregor was caught on his heels multiple times. Just waiting on a pass. Like the things the absolute schoolboy stuff that you're told from a really young age. Don't wait for the ball to come to you. Move forward and meet the ball. Just basics. So CCV's all over the shop here, but I'm confused as to what Liam Scales is doing here. So Liam Scales is our best header of a ball in both boxes. Where is the part of the pitch that you're most vulnerable from a set piece? Right in front of the goals. So why is Liam Scales not in that area? We've seemed to have jumped about from zonal to man marking. We look to have been man marking in this regard. I don't know what the front 3 are doing. They're not marking anyone. But the centre backs appear to be trying to man mark. Presumably they're 2 most dangerous men. But this is why I think this is really well worked. Clearly, knowing that Scales is the best defender, they've basically used his marker as a decoy. So he actually, the player he's marking actually pulls further to the back post. He starts quite far. He probably starts in line with the back post, but yeah, his initial run is further wide of that, taking him even further away. Then Scales realizes what's happening and goes, oh shit, I can't do anything back here. And so you can see him there. He's on his move. He's on the way. The guy he's marking is behind him. And he's started to go, that's where the danger is. No shit, right? It just beggars belief. Both of us have played at the back in our limited football careers, but it just beggars belief you would go, oh, maybe we should think about defending the space right in front of the goals. So basically, I think they're both at fault. And Kieran Tierney's a pretty good header of the ball, and he's got his back to goal in this photo. So the front three, I have no idea what they're doing. It's just absolutely amateurish how we've tried to defend this. And yeah, they've got a good header of the ball free, great cross in, good pace. All he has to do is get a bit of a glance on it, direct it, doesn't really need to put any power on it, does that really well, scores as easy a goal as you would likely score against Celtic. And yeah, just a shambles, really. An absolute shambles.
I think Big Elvis probably had a wee bit of an input on that one because he was a bit of a dominant force in the opposition box from set pieces back in the day. Slabber and Cabbage are saying, what's with the 1940s HD pictures? This is the standard of quality we get from Celtic TV, Slabber and Cabbage. So when, this is what we have to put up with. So this is what people pay ridiculous sums of money every month in the rest of the world to watch Celtic. Good. But yeah, anyway. But I had Ian Crocker and James McFadden yesterday, so I switched off from the Chris Sutton, Chris Boyd pantomime after the game. I certainly wasn't indulging in that rubbish. Yeah, so I mean that was around the 17-minute mark. So 3 minutes later, we have probably the best chance of the game to equalize. And if this goes in, who knows? What if, it doesn't matter now, obviously, but Hatate plays probably the pass of the game, perfectly weighted. Kieran Tierney actually makes a decent forward run wide. The right back or the right wing back doesn't follow Kieran. He's in, and for whatever reason, rather than just trying to hit it with his right foot, he's waited for it to come across his left, and then he's pulled it wide. I mean, I've sort of at the time I'm going, could he have played it to Iheanacho? Could he have cut it back? Did he squared it? But I think with a keeper spread like that, I mean, surely you just drill it between his legs. It's one each, and that could potentially have changed the game. I mean, I know Malasson's here saying he's screaming for it. There's three players there. I mean, I think in that situation, you're well within your rights to shoot, but you've got to get on target. If the keeper pulls a save, the keeper pulls a save. But to hit it wide from there, that's disappointing. Paul, that would have been the perfect reply, but it wasn't today.
Yeah, and it should have been the perfect riposte. The pass from Hatate has taken a lot of grief in recent months, not even weeks, and some of that's been quite a lot of that has been deserved. I thought this pass was brilliant, little dink on his left foot. He played another one not too much later that started a move that Yang should have probably scored from as well. It skipped up on him a little bit, but he's right in front of the goals. He just needs to direct it. This is gilt edged as far as I'm concerned. Like, yes, he's left footed, but he's got a decent right foot. It's the way his angled run in is perfect for the right foot. Just put your laces through it. There's a big old gap on that right side of the goal. Put it in there. Then if you choose to run around like he has, you're right. He's got to poke it. Either he can go between the legs or he can go near post. Either way, he should be scoring that. As I say, 50 grand a week. You're 8 yards out, 7 yards out. You've got to score that. You've absolutely got to score that. And then I think then tails are up, confidence seeps back into the team, momentum shifts. I think all things being equal, with the amount of chances we created, albeit we didn't really take them, you probably produce enough to win the game. But yeah, not to be. And really, you're right. That's about as close. Well, Rio had one that the defender managed to get an arse cheek on, which on another day goes in. But yeah, that's probably as close as it gets. It's certainly probably the best chance, the absolute most gilt-edged chance we had. But we created quite a lot of chances once you add them up. Like, some of them were late in the game, so even if you score them, it's probably a consolation. But it was pretty turgid, very turgid, but we made enough chances to win the match 3-2 or 4-2. We did. But our finishing is absolutely dreadful at the minute. And there's just
I think sorry, just jump in just quickly, just with Rio. I think the biggest criticism from him is that he's not been playing well, and he hasn't been. And you have Rio in the team for moments like this. This is the sort of stuff that he is capable. He has in his locker to be able to produce. And you think if that's a Kyogo or a Maeda on the end of that, it's in the back of the net, and I don't think he had an amazing game yesterday, but I did think that there were certain moments in the game where he showed a bit of quality that we just sorely lacked. So you sort of say, well, at the moment we're struggling for quality. So if you can squeeze a bit of quality out of Rio at the moment, you'll take it. And this was the perfect example. But for me, this was the move. This was the type of stuff we had to do more of, but we didn't do it. Like, we're only 20 minutes into the game, and you're thinking, well, more of that, Celtic. Like, I know that's a hard pass to play, and I know that that's not something that's going to come off every time, but that's the sort of game-breaking pass that's going to catch out 4 defenders, and all of a sudden you're in behind them, and it's a one-on-one. But we just didn't do it. I think we maybe had one in the second half, right, really late on, but the blueprint was there. And it's like, surely if you're Brendan-Rodgers and you're jotting down your wee notepad, at half time you're saying, more of that. Like, that's the sort of play that's going to break this game open and create chances. But we didn't see it. We just reverted back to passing side to side, centre half to Calmac, back to Calmac, out to the winger, back to the centre half. And literally not sooner than 2 minutes later, Tanecki gets caught on the ball. There's a poor pass inside to Cal McGregor. Cal McGregor, as you say, caught flat-footed, breaks up the park, and Schmeichel has to pull this save. And I mean, the laddie probably should have done better with the cross. Colgreve again, like, he again managed to skip past Chiarantini in this instance. But it's just like, every time they went forward, you're thinking, God, like, we're dodging bullets left, right, and center. But when we went forward, it was just like we're hitting a brick wall every single time. And it's just like, how are we so easy to counter against? Where's the we used to have a bit of resilience, so we used to be able to recycle the ball and go again. But we were just getting caught out time and time again. And this is what talks to you saying that the centre halves had a poor game. I really think they did, because they struggled. Anthony Ralston was dreadful, and Chiarantini had obviously got in position for that chance, but he played 90 minutes somehow. But how Strachey didn't get a run at some point, I'm scratching my head. But
maybe he's been saved. Maybe he's been saved for the Europa League. But joking. But it's spot on. Like, so for me, Hatate, as patchy as he was, and Iheanacho are probably the only starters that gets pass marks as far as I'm concerned. Iheanacho was looking for opportunities. He was getting involved. He was having to drop deep to get involved. That then led to him probably not being where he really needed to be. But he at least looked like he was up for it. He had intent. He got on the end of a few things. He got on the end of one at the back post second half. He had the header late on. Hit the post early doors. Yeah, he showed intent and he wanted to be there. He's obviously screaming for the one from Tierney. I don't think that should go to him either. But he's put himself about and in the right place. Hatate, probably the only midfielder that had consistent shots in and around goal. He had the one that was blocked with the arse cheek. He had 2 that just whistled past the post. He had the block, which we thought was going to be a penalty and wasn't. So, whilst on another day you would you're not going to sit there on a day we got beat. He was a brilliant performance, but he was significantly better than most of the rest of the team. and Iheanacho the same. So as bad as we were, I don't think you can point the finger too heavily at those two guys. And as poor as Hatate's been for our chunks of the season, he was the one bright spark in the midfield until Engels came on. So again, I'm just a bit bamboozled as to why, that midfield functioned pretty well last season. We were one average performance away from winning the treble. So I don't know. I really don't know what Engels has done to deserve, to be sort of banished.
I need to go away and do the stats on the Negrin, McGregor, Hatate midfield and see how we've actually gone, game wise, because I think early doors we got a couple of results early on, but after that it feels like we've struggled. Like it's just really chugged along, and it's just not been, the balance isn't there. But yeah, like you say, at this point, I just think you play players that have got an upward trajectory, and that's Engels and Bernardo. But the two of them can't seem to get a look in a team that's struggling. The mind boggles. And then it's like, well, is that Brendan Rodgers being stubborn and being arrogant and doesn't want to admit that he's done it wrong? Or is there an issue at training that he's seen that obviously we're not privy to? You just don't know. But you can't say that midfield three is working and firing. And, all right, the front three are getting rightfully a lot of the criticism, but the balls being played in need to be played in at a pace and a zip that gives the front three half a chance to be able to do something with it. Because if the ball's coming in at a pedestrian pace, and Tanecki didn't have a great game yesterday. It's probably the worst game he's probably had since he's played for Celtic. But the guy's got two defenders on him at all times. And that was just an indictment on how bad our right wing was, because, all right, if there's two on the left blocking Tanecki, then surely Yang or Ralston should have space elsewhere, but we didn't utilize it, and they were that partnership was dreadful. So
that's going to continue though, Anthony. Like that's already how long Tanecki's been here for about 5 games, and it's already a well-worn tactic domestically. And even we've seen it in Europe, basically double team Tanecki and hope that we don't utilize the space elsewhere because we're so pedestrian and slow at moving the ball. And it's worked fine. It's absolutely worked fine. So as long as that continues to be the case, then it will probably likely continue to add. That's another reason for me advocating getting him on the right. He's got the ability to go inside and out. If he can do that on the left, he can do that on the right. And then, like, again, Balikwisha, a pretty brief cameo. But once Engels came on, he actually looked a bit lively. Like he had somebody around him. He had some link up. Like it was those two that linked up for the goal, before the break. Great little pass, sorted it out. So I'm utterly confused. Even if you've got problems, and even if you're stubborn, you've got problems with training, whatever. Sooner or later, you've got to go. This team is shit and needs freshened up, regardless. Bite the bullet, move the ego on, get players in that look like they want to move, want to be heavily involved. Like in his last 2 cameos, Engels has been absolutely busting a gut from one end of the pitch to the other and really showing intent. If that doesn't show you that the kid wants to make an impact, be on the ball, get involved, to try and turn the result, I don't know what does. And he managed to help do that in the last game. It was obviously a bridge too far with only 10 minutes on and 2-0 down at this point. But yeah, there's so much wrong with this team and squad at the minute. But you're right on service. Coming back to that, we played 2 centre forwards for the second half, and you might as well have had 6 because not one cross came in until Tierney's late on. From open play, there was a couple. You honestly
felt we could have played another 90 minutes, and I still don't think we would have scored. You know what I mean? Like that was the feeling. It was just like, just blow the whistle. Like, yeah, and obviously Hatate's shot, and the guy got his cheek in the way and deflected. I went, well, that if that's not ready to win, nothing's ready to win. It's one of those days, whatever. But yeah, it was just frustrating from that point of view. But I guess, Paul, the other thing is that you've got Balikwisha. He's your one of your new signings. He's basically not rotting on the bench, but effectively he's not getting a start. But you've got Yang, who doesn't want to be there. I tried to stick up for him early in the season, but based on yesterday's performance, like I just don't see the point. You know, like you as well playing James Forrest and just play him.
He had two meaningful.
Yeah,
Young had two meaningful moments in that sort of first half period, and one in each box, and he made a pig's ear of both of them. Like I think he's got to score the chance that comes from Hitate's other quality pass in the first half. Gets it through, ball comes in. Yes, it's on the bounce, but Jesus, you're a professional footballer. Like, just put your laces through it, and you score a goal from 8, 9, 10 yards out.
Because and then he stuffs that up. They break up the park and nearly score. Like, that was the thing. Like,
well, and then at the other end, it's him who fails to get across the first attacking player for the second goal. So they make a great break. The less said about Scales, the better. He gets absolutely done up like a kipper. Now, I know there's a lot of people think Scales is one of our best players this season, etc., etc. But this just shows you his limitations.
He got shown up.
He got absolutely sure. He got stood up and then shifted, and he was all over the place. And then Young is trying to track his man, but he's never getting there. He makes a half-hearted sort of challenge that flicks across the box, and then what's CCV doing? Flat-footed, bounces off him in the back of the net. Like, if you're a defender, if he's a defender, why is he not anticipating that this might end up? He just gets sort of stuck under him, flat-footed, bounces off him, head and hands. There's a point on here, Strangelove the Doctor is absolutely spot on. On that counter, somebody just needs a sharp pull, yellow card, done. It's right on half time. It's in injury time and at half time. We've talked about this before as well. We are amateurish when it comes to
game awareness
and just being professional. It's called professional foul for a reason. It's cynical as all hell, but it's the professional thing to do. Kill an attack, take the booking, reset, happy days. Like, this is one of the reasons why we've struggled in Europe for years, because other teams, worse teams than us, get that stuff right. They kill time, they win free kicks, they take yellows and stop play, and all those other things that we go, oh, that's despicable. We don't want to see that in the game, and you really don't, right? But.
Oh, Paul, you're okay? You muted yourself there. Hang on.
You got me there?
I can hear you. Hang on.
Good man.
You back?
Yeah, I think you've got me. So yeah, we've got to just deal with that and reset. But it's just another example of shoddy defending. And we got punished.
Yeah, I mean like I said, that winger showed up here in TNA, showed up William Stills in this instance, and just provided that threat. But there's a lot of things went wrong with that goal. And there's some, Schmeichel's been getting. There's a few comments about Schmeichel, and I just think for me, the one thing I noticed in that first half was he was absolutely glued to his line. Like, at no point was he coming for anything. And I just think with those couple of early chances that Dundee had, if he comes and collects one of those, it just settles everything down a bit and just puts a little bit of doubt in the minds of the Dundee attackers as well, going, well, this big Dane is coming out to sort of take the ball and take everything with it. And I just feel at the moment he is glued to that goal line. And for me, you need your keeper to have bravery to actually come off his line. I don't know if it's because he's not fit. He's getting to the end of his career. He's watching himself. I don't know, but I just kind of feel he needs to, and I'm not saying for this particular goal, but I'm just saying in general, my feeling was that there was a couple of times where he just, I just feel like he came and collected, and it just would have just settled everything down a little bit and just gives your centre halves a wee bit of reassurance. But obviously the subs coming at half time, we're obviously going 2-0 down, which is obviously not ideal. But then we make a couple of substitutions. So James Forrest comes on, Ralston comes off. What was the other one? we brought Luke McCowan on at that point, I think, as well. That was the other one.
No, he came on later. It was just
No,
Forrest. Johnny Kenny came on.
Oh, Johnny Kenny. Sorry, my apologies. Yeah, Kenny came on up front for Ralston, and then Yang came off for Forrest. So that was what happened at the halftime. But then second half, it was actually Dundee that had two really good chances before we really threatened again. There was one with Simon Murray. Like, he, on another day, he should have buried that. I don't have an image of it, but he cut inside, and Carter Vickers managed to come across and put in a recovery tackle. But if he'd actually taken it on the outside, he got his shot away, and he could probably made it 3-0, and then it really would have been absolutely embarrassing. But then this one here, this was like a long throw, flicked on, and Schmeichel's scrambling to sort of turn it away. And like I said before, we've even had a chance to sort of lay a glove on them. They've had two decent chances to make it 3-0, and at this point you're thinking, well, we're a long way off it here. Like, if any chance of a second half revival, you're sort of scratching your head going, not really going to happen. I mean, we're at 46 minutes, Paul, so yeah. Yeah,
no, this one, the Simon Murray chance is a gilt-edged chance, but CCV does really well there, actually. His probably only positive piece of play pretty much all day. This one just sums up, this one on screen from the two headers, just sums up again how poor we are on set pieces. It's a long throw. We don't win either the first or the second ball. So there's the first head flick on is from a Dundee player, and then the striker's in behind, and he wins the second ball, and he gets pretty close. I don't know if Schmeichel actually gets a touch to this or just sort of
covers it.
It covers it, and it's just drifting wide. But I'm not convinced he's getting there. If that's hitting the inside of the post and dropping in, I don't think he's getting there. So just really, really poor. But you're right. We're nearly at the end of the show. We've probably touched on the majority of the critical instances, other than this, which we've only briefly touched on, which is the penalty incident. Now, when this happened, I immediately thought penalty, and the ref immediately thought penalty. And I thought, happy days, on pitch. He's really close. Must be a penalty. And then, obviously, lo and behold, we see VAR, and it turns out smashes him in the face first. I still think it hits his arm after that.
Well, it does, but I was under the impression that is there not a deflection rule there? Like, is that not why it's
there wasn't originally until I think a couple of 2 or 3 weeks ago when that one at Kilmarnock happened and in our favour, and Willie Collum came out and said new guidance will be if it takes deflection before it hits a hand, will be, generally speaking, there'll be the odd caveat, but generally speaking, we don't want that to be awarded. I guess my only argument here, and if that's the directive, so the referee's within his rights to overturn his own decision. Look where his arms are, right? Like, if it doesn't hit his face, it's hitting his arm. It hits his face, it hits his arm. So I don't know. Would you be that bothered if that kick was given against you? I probably accept that, given where his arms are at. But there's just
silhouette is in an unnatural position. But I mean, I think if it hit his face and then bounced down and his arms are by his side, you go, well, that'd be incredibly hard done by. But obviously, in this case, it's not. He's made himself bigger than what he is. I mean, it's hard to say from this angle whether it was ever going to go towards the goal. Anyway, I'm obviously going towards the goal, but whether it was actually going over the bar or not, we can't.
It's really going over. It's probably going over.
Yeah.
So, look, would it have made a difference potentially? Did we really deserve to get anything out of it today? Not really. It would have been a bit of a lifeline, but no, it was. By the new directives over the last few weeks, it wasn't a penalty, so we'll move on.
And then I think this sums it up. I mean, Inacho had a couple of chances. There was one he had blocked on the keeper, just basically fell on it, and he just took too long to get his shot away. But this one for me, but right when the image is actually right behind the tie, he had a lot of the goal to aim at, and somehow this laddie's managed to get his arse in the way and block it. And at that point, I'm going, we're not scoring today. It's just not going to happen. No. And yeah, you do get days like that, but it's not like we were absolutely peppering the goal and we had like 25 chances on goal and they rode the luck. They didn't really ride the luck. Like Dundee, in fairness, and there's been a few comments in the comment section, but they've sort of said Dundee deserved the win. Like they were good for the 3 points. Like they offered enough threat. They defended stoutly. The keeper really didn't pull that many saves. Really, like there was the one when Nacho at the back stick, which was the Kieran Tierney one. There was the one where he had the shot right at the death, pulled a save there. But to be fair, it took us 60 minutes to get a shot on target. So I mean, you have to say that Dundee deserved the win, and sometimes that's the case. But we've got to look at it from our point of view and say, well, how can we be better? And I just feel that there's so much improvement and so much that needs to happen in that squad, and there's just a malaise over the team at the moment. And it's I personally, I don't think it was helped by the protests at the start of the game, throwing tennis balls and whatnot onto the park. I don't think that sends the right message. I just feel that we're in danger of fragmenting the message that we want greater ambition from our boards. And at the moment, we're sort of obviously the Celtic Collective come out with a whole list of things that we need to do as a fan base. So not supporting the merchandise, not supporting the match day, catering and things like that. But I don't know if throwing tennis balls and bouncy balls onto the park right as the game starts is the right way. You're going to segregate that support, because we're quite united behind the Celtic Collective, but I feel things like that might start splintering it, and then once that happens, then I would say the board wins, but your message gets diluted. But before you jump in, Paul, I had the pleasure of meeting your wife not last weekend, well, not the weekend just gone, but the weekend before. Met your dogs as well, because we got up onto Kings Park and took a photo for part of a where is the ambition message, which was launched in the other Celtic World show earlier tonight. So Gav and the team at Celtic World are encouraging people all around the world to get this printed and take a photo of it wherever you are in the world, because obviously Celtic supporters are all around the world. And he's created a little video, and I just want to play that because I think it's quite pertinent at the moment, given where we are. So play this, and we'll come back in and we'll wrap up the coverage of the game.
instead of this settling for mediocre, imagine what we could be.
So that's something that the Celtic World teams come up with. And like I said, if you want to get involved, you can download that image. Gav will make it freely available online and take a photo wherever you are in the world, and we'll add it to the video. It's just, like I said, it's a way of fans around the world voicing the disapproval of the current situation with the Celtic board. Because I think, Paul, as much as yesterday was a very disappointing result, and it's on Brendan, it's on the team, that's on the park. You can't help but look at that bench and go, you're relying on James Forrest to come on at halftime to change the game for you. And with the greatest respects to James Forrest, he's getting near the end of his career, and that's where we're at currently. That's what we're at. That's what we're basically pinning our hopes on that, and it shouldn't be that way.
It's not even just a bench, is it? It's not even just a bench. Like, look at look at the starting 11. There's too many players in that starting 11. Should be a bench-based player at best for Celtic. If we genuinely want to show the ambition that most Celtic fans, I believe, do want, and I'll bang on about this till I'm blue in the face. If Bruges can achieve what they've achieved, it's absolutely within our wheelhouse and capability to match that. And that's the obvious and clear benchmark that's out there. They're now a decade-plus Champions League team. They sell talent for 80 million. They replace it with 30, 40 million and go again. If they can do it on a smaller stadium, smaller fan base, no global footprint, not the storied history we've got, we're absolutely capable of that. And it's only ambition that's holding us back. So, please, the campaign. Obviously, the campaign is mainly around the fact of those of us that are scattered to the wind and around the world, which is really kind of the premise of this channel in the first place. But whether you're in Coatbridge or I don't know where else around the world, then Kathmandu, there you go, or Coatbridge, you can very entitled to get involved. I think, Gav, if it isn't already in the show notes, I think the link
you'll add up
to the collateral will be there, so you'll be able to jump in, get the download. Gav, as always, those the regular viewers and listeners will know Gav's a stickler for things to be done right, so there's instructions on how best to lay out your photo. But if you want to get involved, please do. And send the photos in and we'll add them to an updated video, and hopefully that will grow as this campaign grows. Last thing I'll say, and I know I said we'd be under an hour and we're going to be over, so hey ho. I'm going to respectfully disagree on the balls protest. I know it wasn't everybody's cup of tea, but the point of that was to cause enough of a disruption and a delay to get yet another sort of banner and chant up to point the finger at the board, which it absolutely did. That chant, the banners, it was all over the TV while they cleared those balls up. There's also a panning across and a good long shot of the board sort of muffling around in the stadium, looking uncomfortable, which is what you want. We want them uncomfortable. We want them front and center of the focus of the campaign. And that those images were beamed all around the world again. So from that point of view, that little stunt has, it's now probably the second or third time we've used the balls thing. Probably can end that there, but it is, and taking it to another level with the bouncy balls was that's really pushing it in terms of the delay, because there was tons of them. I've heard all sorts of nonsense about that. Oh, you could have hit the keeper with them. Those balls are quite hard. Or players are, the players are primed and warmed up, ready to go, but so were Dundee's players. So you can't make that an excuse to started slow. I've also heard, if it wasn't for that delay, there wouldn't have been the added on minutes, and that's when they scored the second goal. Like, anyone that wants to be an apologist for the board and make excuses about what the fan base that's trying to get change are doing, will really come up with any old nonsense here. And as far as the stunt goes, it was there to bring attention to what the campaign wants to do. Was it a wee bit childish? Yep, probably, but absolutely put them front and center, and that's what we want. So this is going to be a long campaign to get rid of them. I don't think anyone expects that we'll get what we want in days or weeks. It's going to take months and potentially years. But if we split the fan base and ease back on the pressure, then they're just going to try and ride it out. So we've got to continue to put pressure on. If we want change, like
ultimately, yeah. But then that special collection on the weekend sold out in like a day. So like, so there's plenty of people still buying Celtic merchandise.
Well, but on that, I'm not saying that's down to just Celtic merchandise. That's Adidas special merchandise. A good chunk of that, the Celtic, Villa, and Newcastle was back on resale sites at double the money because they're collector's items. Anything that's got the special brand of Adidas is, and I've got a few special pieces down the years that are non-Celtic, just part of the collection. I know how much they go for, and I know how sought after they are because each of them is only a limited run. So I'm not going to take that as a strong notice that people are avoiding the encouraged position of the merch kind of boycott. Also, the comms on that were the collective did well to get the comms out half an hour before they went on sale, but they were still half an hour on sale. If somebody's gone and stood outside the sports superstore for an hour or two before the launch, I'm pretty sure they're not going to look at the post and go, oh, well, I'm going to give up my place in the queue now that that's been called. They're going to go, well, maybe next time. So yeah, I think you just got to keep the pressure up.
All right, let's wrap it up. So I guess the only thing I hadn't touched on was probably Brendanrodgers' post-match comments talking about Ferraris and Honda Civics, which I'm not sure it was probably his finest moment in terms of a post-match interview. Yeah, I'm not really sure what sort of metaphor he was trying to paint there, but he's basically saying some of the players he's got are good enough, I think. Was that the gist of it? So I'm sort of scratching my head at that one, going, back to the drawing board with that one. But he's right. He in fairness, he did sort of say it's my responsibility. It's my responsibility. I think he said my responsibility about 4 or 5 times in one of the interviews I watched. So it'll be interesting to see what he comes up with against Sturm Graz during the week, and then obviously Hearts next week, because we need a response, and we need it a month ago, but we need it now. So will he, make some changes, or will he insist on playing the same players? I think Donovan has to come in at right back. I would definitely have a look at Tsenecki on the right wing because he plays there for Tunisia, and get Balakwisha into the side and see what he can do from a start. And actually, they're the players you've signed, so see what they can do. And then I think Shin Yamada, I would say, I think he offers more than John Kenny, but I don't know, the guy scored goals in Japan. We had previous strikers who scored goals in Japan who end up scoring plenty of goals for us. So surely he's going to get a look in at some point, but he's already got a look in the European squads. He's not in it, but surely he's dragged on the bench for the Hearts game at least. But I don't know.
I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't.
Especially we know Maeda. I mean, that's the thing. You're lacking another option up there at the moment. But hopefully AJ's not too far away. But at the same time, you don't want to rush him back and he gets injured again. You want to try and get him back fit. Paul, man of the match.
Well, slim pickings, isn't it? But I think on the balance of overall contribution, it's Hattie for me. Just Iniacho could have tossed a coin between them, but there weren't a lot of bright sparks on the day, were there?
Oh, I'd say it's Hattie was probably a 6.5. Maybe push for a 7 out of 10, and that was probably the best rating a Celtic player would get all day. So I mean, I'll agree with you, Hattie. That's fine. I mean, just a day like that, you're not really going to be streaming out for a man of the match.
No.
Anyway, anything you wanted to finish up on, Paul? We've sort of, I know we said to ourselves beforehand we were going to restrict ourselves to an hour, and here we are, an hour and 5 minutes. We're not done yet. So, is there anything else that you want to add, or before we get into recommendations and whatnot? Or
no, I think that's as bad a performance as we've seen in a long time. I'd rather not spend any more time on it, and keeping my fingers very crossed that we see some sort of uptick in performance and result. Goal or two would be a fucking start on Thursday and then into Sunday.
All right. Big news today. The Southern River Band, guys play football with Cal Kramer. He is supporting AC/DC on their Australian tour. So if you're in Australia and you've got tickets to see AC/DC, the Southern River Band will be supporting them along with Amil and the Sniffers.
Amil and the Sniffers, yeah.
Yeah.
My recommendation of the week last week.
There you go. So there's I'd say I'm cool. I'm hip. I'm with it.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and you spurred me into action, Paul, because when we caught up 2 weeks ago, you obviously every time I see you mention slow horses. So we're into season 2 of slow horses.
Good.
There are cicadas. There are people getting knocked off bikes. So we're well into season 2. So thoroughly enjoying that. We go over the hump, and we're well and truly into that. So if you haven't seen that on Apple TV, I'm sure most people, if you've watched it, you've probably watched it by now. But yes, a bit slow on the uptake, like myself. Slow horses on Apple TV. Oh,
I think we're into season 5, maybe. But they're drip feeding them week by week, so I've not started watching season 5 yet. I'm just going to wait until they're all out, and then I'll smash it in a few days. Just one music recommendation for the week this week. This has become a bit of a theme this season. Bands of yesteryear, or at the parent peak of yesteryear, back with really good albums. So recommendation of the week is the self-titled album, Idlewild by Idlewild, which is weird for a few reasons. It's a self-titled album, and it's album number 10. So most people, if they're going to do a self-titled album, will have done that for the first or second records. So to just get to the 10th album and go, yeah, we'll just call it our own name. We'll give it a make out. So that was weird. But for anyone, so Idlewild, 30 years they've been around. They got together and started playing music in 1995. 10th album released 3 weeks ago, less than 3 weeks ago, beginning of the month. Really good album, 10 tracks, less than 40 minutes. So quick, good listen, but will benefit from repeated listens. It's definitely a grower, but a really good album, probably up there with the quality of 100 Broken Windows and The Remote Part, which were probably their 2 biggest albums in the very early 2000s or late 90s. So I think that was the second and third album. So real return to form. If you were into Idlewild in the past and sort of hadn't realized they were still going, check out the 10th album. It is absolutely excellent.
Film recommendation from Strangelove the Doctor, One Battle After Another. Who's in that? Is that the one with Leonardo DiCaprio? Is that one? I'm trying to think now. I've sort of seen. Yeah. Anyway. Thank you very much. Comment section was lively. A few Hearts fans deciding to get a wee bit of a chirp on in there. They must be feeling pretty confident. Hopefully we absolutely batter them next week. Absolutely not confident in that statement, but you never know. You live to dream. We'll be back covering that game next Monday night. Same time, same place. We can only hope that things improve. But like I said, first league defeat of the season. So, hopefully the last one for a while, but a lot of work for Brendan and the team to do. Thank you everyone in the comment section for joining us. And like I said, if you want to get involved in this show, the Ambition campaign, please download the collateral and take your photo wherever you are in the world, because as a Celtic world, we are Celtic fans all over the place. So all that's left to say, Paul, is hail, hail.
Hail, hail.